Victims of war worldwide are excluded not only in daily life, but also in major processes that includes peace building, transitional justice processes, and in most cases, they are not engaged as key players in the entire process. They look like witnesses or people who should always just come in to have their issues addressed or attended to by other people. And this presents a more exclusive challenges in terms of how to engage the people whom we are talking about. And the point is, if we are looking for justice, we should be able to ask ourselves, for who are we looking for the justice? If you're looking for justice for the victims, the major question which we have always failed to answer, or we have failed to ask, has been, is the justice we are looking the justice they want? Is the justice we are seeking the justice they need? And who can answer this question better? It's only when you present it to a victim who can tell you that I need this. I need justice like this to be done. Oftentimes, the world and everyone focuses more at perpetrators. They invest all the resources at apprehending the perpetrator of the crimes. But in most cases, people forget to step in to address the harmful effects of all this conflict on the human beings. So the challenge has been, how then can we, as the world, engage the victims in the practical processes of transitional justice? The question is, what are we transitioning to? If we step in to make policies, that does not make sense to the victims or excludes the victims. We don't consult them. Sometimes we claim we are consulting them, but it doesn't make sense because it's not a meaningful consultation. People would want to know, how will the decision-making process affect the life of people who must be changed? And this, we're talking about the young people, the children, the women who have suffered the brunt of horrific crimes. So our work as African Youth Initiative Network has been to create opportunity to address the harmful effects of war on the life of the innocent people who suffered years of atrocities. And that's why we step in to provide more intensive medical and psychosocial rehabilitation to the victims of war. And this does not only provide meaningful healing to their physical health, but it ends at the end of the day, brings about total healing of the family, the community, and then the society. Our years of work providing medical and psychosocial rehabilitation to the victims of war has made us realize that true peace, sustainable peace, begins when human, physical, and emotional sufferings or pains are controlled. You may not completely stop it, but you need to be able to control. You need to be able to manage. Give people a chance to move back to a better life. Step in to provide the quality of life required for someone to live a positive life. So the challenge has always been, do people want the process? A lot of intervention has always been targeting at supporting elimination of human rights violations, but not so much has been at addressing the effects of human rights violation. And this is where the victims are. We might do all we can, but as long as we have the reminders of the atrocities unaddressed in the community, within the people, then we are missing the point. Is the justice we are seeking the justice they want? If we have to get the justice they want, we need to ask them, we need to engage them, we need to step in and meaningfully change their lives. Otherwise, we lose out the point, and that has been very complicated. I know transitional justice process varies from one country to another, but also pretty much determined by the political interest, by the governments in power. And that has been the biggest challenge, because so much has been done in terms of funding, in terms of support to political institutional reforms, but not so much has been done in terms of engaging to provide the traumatic healing of the people who have suffered. So my choice, or our choice, has been, how do we better work together to engage the victims to meaningfully become part of the process of effective reconciliation and rebuilding of life? So that's why it's been very problematic. Sometimes when you struggle to move things around, a lot of people doesn't understand the clear link between emotional healing and peace building. So many people doesn't understand the clear link between justice, judicial accountability, and practical accountability to the victims. What we need, much as the world and everybody is committed to apprehending and prosecuting the perpetrators, what victims need is to step in and provide the life-saving intervention to most of them who really need urgent psychosocial and medical assistance. And this does not stop only in Uganda, it's all over. We have victims of sexual violence who struggle to come out, and the process in most cases does not cater for their needs because people step in, bring in their position, and do what they think is right. I've seen many international campaigns and advocacies using victim situation to advocate for lots of resources, to pass in the message in a way that does not even give dignity and justice to the victims. If you use their situation to create awareness, for whose awareness? Are you creating awareness to empower the world so that they can step in to intervene? If that's the point, yes, then engage them in the process of planning so that the advocacies and then the steps are taken into account, the process of dignity, and ensure that whatever we do does not re-victimize the victims. So victims of the war worldwide suffers not only daily exclusion from the practical development activities, but also to the major peace-building tables. They are not included. They're excluded, they're not brought on board, they are not consulted on a meaningful basis. It's always very symbolic, but we need to engage in meaningfully and to make it a different way. So having been someone as a youth who grew up in the community, I grew up amidst the people who were suffering from war. I also grew up in the middle of war. I experienced what it means to be a child born and raised in conflict zone. I think it's much harder for any child who is born and raised in the conflict zone to make it in life and to even be able to make a constructive decision because they end up getting caught struggling with their own future, thinking of what the future looks like, struggling with their own education, feeding, health threats everywhere. It makes it really, really complicated for every child born and raised in the conflict zone. So having been one, I saw, I learned, I witnessed, and I feel like there's always a room for me to learn something new. I think the approach, the intervention should look at how do we engage youth and children, especially who also doubles as victims of war, in the peace-building processes. Youth must be key players in peace-building, or less they will be key players in human rights violations. And if we have to raise generations of peace builders, we need to raise them with a concept and a mindset of fundamental human rights understanding, where they understand the needs to protect and respect one another, whether they be politically or racially differ. But at the end of the day, it's about understanding that all men are equal and all deserve a chance to be protected and given opportunity to live a better life. And this is where we always have problems. I also want to say something about the world needs to open their eyes in intervening, in supporting the children who are born in conflict zone. The world needs to focus and give due attention to the child soldiers. The case goes from one country to another. Mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, we have seen tons and tons of children who are victims of war, who are child soldiers. And these are the people that should be supported today if they must be part of the community construction and if they should be a part of the global peacemaking energies. But if not, we risk losing that entire generation because so many of them feels they have not been given the best they need in life. They've been denied education. They've been victims of political isolation, and they've been victims of military recruitment. They get recruited, and all they have learned is how to kill, how to maim, how to rape. And this opens much wider door for sexual violence against women. Opens much wider doors even for revenge, because if the political differences and ethnic histories, historical factions are not addressed, then we risk raising the generations of people who are ready to revenge and kill each other. So as a person who was born and raised in this kind of situation, I feel the pain. I learned from it. I moved out of it with all my history, which becomes part of my story. And I think it's always challenging to see the positive out of you when you're in a conflict zone. But I want to pass a message to my friends, the youth, the children, and everybody that it can be hard, it can be hurting, it can be frustrating, but you have a chance. In you lies the potential that only you can know, and only you can make the best use of it. And the best you can do, if you ever wanted to give a gift, the best gift you can give to everybody, no matter what age, what region, whatever in the world, the best gift you can give is to build peace. And this is the best gift that we can give together as youth, as children, whether be born in captivity, or whether be born in conflict zone, or whether be born in a place without conflict threats. We can all deliver one big gift to the world, and that is the gift of peace. Let us build peace, let's stand for it, and let's promote peace and accountability, and ensure justice for all. Thank you very much.